Are we really living in the best time in human history? I know it might not always feel that way, with all the challenges, headlines, and things we worry about today. But if we take a step back and look at the big picture, there's a strong argument to be made. This is the golden age of humanity. Join me as we dive into how life today stacks up against centuries past. From health and wealth to technology, human rights, and more, let's explore why right now might just be the best time to be alive. Let's start with health, one of the most remarkable markers of progress. Just 100 years ago, the average life expectancy worldwide was less than 40 years. Yes, 40. Diseases like smallpox, polio, and cholera were regular, deadly threats, with millions of lives lost. But today, things look very different. Thanks to medical advancements, improved hygiene, and vaccines, life expectancy worldwide has nearly doubled, with many countries averaging over 70 years or even 80 years. Think about this. Diseases that were once death sentences can now be prevented or treated with a simple vaccine or pill. Smallpox? Eradicated. Polio? Nearly eliminated. We have advanced treatments for conditions like cancer, diabetes, and heart disease. Imagine telling someone in the 1800s that we'd one day have tiny machines, yes, nanotechnology, fighting diseases at the cellular level. So when it comes to health, we're in a golden age that past generations couldn't have dreamed of. Did you know that the common flu, which we now mostly brush off, used to be one of the deadliest diseases? Today, a vaccine can greatly reduce its impact. Just think about how that compares to the past. Now let's talk about poverty and wealth. For centuries, the vast majority of humanity lived in extreme poverty, with limited resources, lack of basic sanitation, and little or no social safety nets. In 1820, over 80% of the global population lived in extreme poverty. Today, that number has dropped to about 10% worldwide. How did this happen? Economic growth, global trade, and technological innovation have lifted billions out of poverty. Incomes have risen, and standards of living have improved across the board. Now, more people have access to clean water, electricity, and education than ever before. Even in regions where poverty remains a challenge, the levels are significantly lower than they were a century ago. Of course, there's still a lot of work to be done, but we're on a path that has already made incredible progress. Imagine explaining smartphones, the internet, and global supply chains to someone from just 100 years ago. They'd be astounded at how accessible the world has become. Education and knowledge. Let's look at how far we've come here. A century ago, going to school was a privilege. Only a small percentage of the world's population, especially girls and women, had access to formal education. Fast forward to today, and global literacy rates are at an all-time high, with over 90% of young people worldwide able to read and write. The internet has made knowledge more accessible than ever. In seconds, we can learn about any subject under the sun, from quantum physics to how to bake a perfect souffle. And it's not just information for the privileged few. Online education platforms are making it possible for anyone with internet access to learn skills, earn degrees, and even change careers. And here's a fun fact. In the 1800s, getting an education was such a rarity that having books in your home was a status symbol. Today, most of us carry around the equivalent of entire libraries in our pockets. Technology and connectivity. Speaking of libraries in our pockets, let's talk about technology and connectivity. Think about it. Less than 150 years ago, there were no cars, no planes, and certainly no internet. If you wanted to talk to someone on the other side of the world, it could take weeks, or even months, by letter. Today, we're more connected than ever. We can video chat with friends and family across the globe instantly, access global news at any moment, and work with colleagues from any country. We live in an age where a kid with a smartphone in a remote village can learn computer programming, and artists from opposite sides of the world can collaborate without ever meeting in person. More than just convenience, technology has opened doors to collaboration, innovation, and problem-solving on a global scale. This is the stuff of science fiction for people just a few generations back. And if that isn't a golden age, I don't know what is. Human rights and equality. This era also stands out for its strides in human rights and equality. A century ago, many countries had laws that prevented women from voting, working, or receiving equal pay. the idea of universal human rights was still just a dream. Fast forward to today, and while there's more progress to be made, we're witnessing historic movements for equality across gender, race, sexual orientation, and more. Today, the world is more aware and connected, leading to real social changes on a global scale. With international organizations, NGOs, and even social media, human rights abuses are harder to ignore, and change can happen more swiftly. Consider this. In 1900, only one country, New Zealand, had given women the right to vote. Today, nearly every country on Earth recognizes equal voting rights. That's real, measurable progress. And finally, let's talk about peace and safety. While conflicts still exist, the world is actually more peaceful today than in most of history. Ancient times were marked by near-constant wars and conflicts. The 20th century was rocked by 2 world wars. But since then, we've had an era where, despite tensions, large-scale wars between major powers have become rare. Today, our cities are safer too. Crime rates in many countries are lower than they were in the 1980s and 1990s. And technologies like GPS, emergency services, and advanced medical care make life safer than it has ever been. Organizations like the United Nations, despite their imperfections, provide frameworks that help countries resolve conflicts through diplomacy. Overall, humanity has made incredible strides in promoting peace and security. Amazing fact: the likelihood of a person dying from a violent conflict today is far lower than at almost any time in recorded history. While there's still work to do, we're closer to a peaceful world than our ancestors could have imagined. Are we in the golden age? So, are we living in the golden age of humanity? While the world isn't perfect, it's hard to ignore the staggering progress we've made. Our health, wealth, knowledge, connectivity, rights, and safety have all improved in ways our ancestors would have found unimaginable. It's true there are challenges, and each generation will face its own. But looking at the big picture, it seems clear. This era offers opportunities and quality of life that are unprecedented. We're incredibly lucky to be alive at a time when humanity has so many tools, resources, and insights to build a better future. So let's celebrate this moment in history and keep pushing forward to make things even better. If you enjoyed this journey through humanity's progress, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts on what makes this time so unique. Thanks for watching.